going on, everyone? Give everyone a chance to join. Get connected to audio. All right. I think we are good to go. Well, awesome. Welcome, everyone. As we have a few people come in, we'll get started, though, in the interest of being mindful of your time. I am very excited for today's Women's Assembly. If you've joined us before, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome to the Women's Assembly. My name is Jamie Cochran. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Echelon Front, which is a company dedicated toward teaching leadership to companies, organizations, leaders in every capacity. We focus on the principles of extreme ownership, the book written by our co-founders, Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. And everything we talk about here, those principles really come from a combat background and experience, and we have translated those to lessons and conversations around these principles and how apply them in your life outside of the combat aspect of where those principles came from. So I love this group. It's an opportunity for us to engage and ask questions and talk about these principles as it relates to all of the different challenges that we might be facing. And I'm very excited because we've had a slew of guests in our time of doing this. We're just now over 2 years of running the Women's Assembly every single month. If you are new to this session, just be aware that if you don't, if you want to be able to view this video later, we send out the link afterwards so you can share that with friends or family. We get a lot of people that can't join us live but watch these things later, which is really exciting. And we've had a number of different guests in the past, but if there was one guest for me that really has stood out in the last 2 years, it is our guest today as a repeat guest. And the first time I met LaTonya, you know, she just has this energy about her that is just infectious. Every time I talk to her, I leave that conversation, even if it's over something smaller or minuscule, feeling empowered and lightened and just motivated. So she has a really great way of talking about her experiences, but not just offering that motivation, but giving as well some practical things that we can do to implement these things in our life. So I'm very excited to turn the time over to LaTonya. She's going to go through the topic today, which is an awesome topic about minding your business. I think we're going to learn some good things about how to better prioritize and execute in our lives. And then if you have questions for LaTonya, for me, for the other members of our Echelon Front team, put those in the chat. We'll have some time at the end of this to go through some of those questions and discuss a little bit more the things that you're dealing with and how we can help you translate the lessons here to help them solve your problems. But with that, I will pass it off to you, LaTonya. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you, Meg. Thank you to everyone who is here. Listen, again, I'm LaTonya Sumpter, and I consider it such an honor to be here with you today. You know, my desire is that our time together is not just another lunch and learn or not just another speaker meeting, but that it is literally a transformative experience. My desire is to gift you some things to get you to your next level, whatever that looks like and feels like for you. And so in order to get you to your next level, I offer you the topic, mind your business, right? So there is a huge difference between being busy, getting things done, and being productive. When you are busy, you are literally like, you're just doing stuff. What stuff are you doing, you might ask? And I'm so glad that you did ask. The stuff that you are doing is just whatever comes to mind, whatever you find your hands to do. It is spontaneous. It is not planned. It is just doing whatever. It is also doing things that other people have deemed a priority for you. And so you are exhausted, frustrated. There is literally not an end in sight. You're like a hamster on its wheel, just running and running and running, but never really arriving anywhere. And it sucks, right? It sucks to be frustrated and to be tired from just being busy. Because in all of your getting, and all of your doing, and all of your running around, you still feel, you feel unaccomplished, unsatisfied, and unfulfilled, just busy, right? But being productive is in a league of its own, right? Being productive is something altogether different. And being productive means that you have to put intentionality around the things that you do. And so I want to offer you some requirements. I want to offer you some guidelines, some things that must be in place in order for you to move from a place of busy to a place of productivity. The first thing is that you must have a mission. You must understand exactly what you're doing and why you are doing it. It has to be extremely clear to you so that you're not just doing everything, you're doing things towards the mission. Now, when I say mission, most people think about professional goals, and we do have those, but we can also have personal missions as well. Let's talk about it. So when we talk about professional missions, maybe you want to get promoted, right? Maybe you want to own your own business. Maybe you want to be just a better leader overall. Or maybe you just want to understand your job better in the space that you're in. Professional mission or professional goals. But personal goals, again, we have those too. Maybe you want to leave a legacy for your children. Maybe you want to establish intergenerational wealth. Maybe you want to go on vacation. Maybe you just want to live a life that is different than your upbringing. Personal goals, personal missions. And so in order to get there, I offer you number 2. Once I understand the mission, keeping in mind too, that when you own the mission, you own everything that's attached to it, right? That's every single failure, that's every single success. And that is empowering. It is empowering because if I own the mission and I own everything that's attached to it, I also own the ability to pivot. I also own the ability to adjust when things no longer serve me. And so number 2 is, not only must I have a mission, but I have to understand what success looks like as it pertains to that mission. How will I know? How will I know that I've achieved my goals? How will I know that I've gotten to where I'd like to be? I have to have a clear blueprint of what success looks like. Based on what success looks like, it's number 3. I have to be able to prioritize and execute. My priorities come from doing things that meet the goal, right? And so I have to be able to look around and determine what is the highest impact task? What are the necessary components for me to move from just busy to productive? I have to mind my busy. I have to mind my business. And I do that by executing the highest impact task first. That is where I am putting all of my energy. That's where I'm putting my resources. That's where I'm allotting my time. I'm not just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Like, I am zooming in and I'm focusing on what is that task that I've identified. And then after I prioritize and execute, number 4 kicks into play because I have to build and leverage relationships. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, how many businesses you own, how many titles you have. Listen, you don't get to be great alone. None of us get to be great alone. That's not the design. We need people. And here's the thing. If you wait until you need the relationship to build it, it's too late. Because we all have people who only call us when they need $10 for gas, or only call us when they want us to do a favor for them. And that doesn't feel really good. But if we have people in our lives who Every single day you speak to me, or you reach out just to see how I'm doing, or you're generally concerned about me. You're not just concerned about me as it benefits you. Now we start to build that trust and we start to build those relationships. You're going to be able to move from just busy to productive. And number 5, I got to be humble. Right? I got to be humble, because if ever I let my ego tilt a little bit too high and get unbalanced, mission aborted or mission delayed, I'm just stuck there. And I'm stuck until I find the strength and the courage to get over myself. Yeah, I got to be humble, because you see, ego doesn't need help. Ego already has it all the way figured out. Ego thinks that I'm all that in 5 bags of chips. Ego only listens to that which agree with it. And if I'm stuck there, then I never get a chance to move from busy to productive. I gotta know how to mind my business, mind my busyness. And so the question still remains, though, what's keeping you busy? Yeah, what is usurping your time? What are you zooming in and focusing on? Huge, huge. Just want you to think about that. You know, reminds me of a story, actually. When I used to work in a call center, this was years ago, I used to work in a call center, and the general manager was getting promoted. And she said, LaTonya, I want you to take over the call center when I leave. And I was super excited. I had no idea, though, of the consequences and of the ramifications that would come from being selected as a leader. Socially, it was probably the hardest time I've ever had. I was completely ostracized. Every day I would come in, nobody would speak. I would eat lunch by myself. There were plenty of laughs and plenty of jokes, but whenever I walked in, all of a sudden it was quiet. Like you, my thought was they're probably discussing me, but I was determined to mind my business. And what other people say about me, what other people think about me, that is not my business. But you know what is? How I spend my time. And so during those moments, and I feel like I was gifted those quiet moments, I began to teach myself some things. I taught myself how to create professional training outlines. I taught myself how to build activities to measure success. I understood the components of if someone understood something and if somebody really didn't, and how to follow up with that. I actually built my very first PowerPoint, which is crazy because up until that moment, I never had any use for PowerPoint. But I thought, I might need this going forward. I don't know. And so I taught myself how to create PowerPoints in that moment. Now, fast forward, I don't know, 6 months later. Part of the deal with that, by the way, is that there were other people who had been in that same call center for years upon years, 15, 20 years, et cetera, and they were not excited about the new girl coming in and being the manager, right? But again, I just minded my business. So again, 6 months later, probably around that time, a position became available as a training specialist. And I applied for said job because I met all the qualifications, not because I would have even thought to apply. But here's the deal. I met the qualifications because I spent my time wisely. I was self-taught and I learned some things. Take it a step further. Part of the job was to do a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. The only presentation that I had ever done was the one that I built when I was being ostracized. And that presentation got me the job, minding my business. And that job changed my life. I probably wouldn't even be sitting here in front of you today if it had not been for that process. If we want to look at minding your business from another perspective, right? So looking at it not just as minding your busyness, but let's look at it as, what is your business? What is in your bubble? What exactly are you responsible for? You know, I think back to elementary school, and I remember probably like around third or fourth grade, when we first started learning how to put together paragraphs and stories the right way, not just, throwing sentences all over the place. And I remember my teacher saying, we're going to start with brainstorming. And there would be a big circle. And in the middle of that big circle would be the main topic. And then we would draw lines from that big circle of supporting details that lined up with that main topic. And oh my goodness, I feel like I'm kind of going somewhere with this, because I would highly suggest that you do that exercise. Just so that you know, I did it. And let me just share with you some things that I came up with. In the middle, me, some things that I'm responsible for, some things that are my business. My choices are my business. My family, my job, and that includes my direct reports, and that also includes my individual development and my career advancement. That is my responsibility. My behavior, that's on me. My health, and that includes my physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental well-being. That's me. My attitude, my marriage, that's me. My children, how I appear and how I show up in the world every single day. That includes my personal branding, my appearance, all of those things. That's me. And then there's Sumpter Consulting, which is literally my business. I would wager to say, and I am not by any means a betting person, but I would wager to say that if I dedicated my time, my resources, my creativity into those things that are my business, I would not have time to be in yours. Yeah. Too many times we neglect our own business because we are too busy in other people's business. And there's some things that we constantly do. And this is not to judge, right? Because we all have some responsibility in this, right? But there are some things that we do that causes us to neglect our business. And I just want to help us out. Not an all-inclusive list, just a few things. The first thing that we constantly are doing is trying to change other people. that is not my business. And that is why we find ourselves pleading and begging and appealing to people to no avail. Even if what I want for you is best for you, I still don't have the authority to make your choices for you. And it hurts, doesn't it? Kind of stings when you see people going the wrong way and you want them to just get on track. You just want them to do a little better. All I can say is that we are all entitled to our own journey. And so I gotta put some boundaries up, right? Create some boundaries and then mind my business and give people the opportunity to make their own mistakes and grow from them, just like I had to, just like I continue to have to. We are also constantly worrying about what other people are doing. And it is, this person got promoted and I don't think they deserve it. This person sold their house. I think it was because they couldn't make the mortgage payment. I heard something about somebody losing their job and oh my goodness. This person is selling books and I remember when they couldn't read. This person is doing this and this person is doing that. Listen, gossiping about you does not help me. I gotta mind my business. We are so obsessed about other people. We know their preferences. We know their backstories. We know whether they like, look, sneakers, heels, or flats. Like we know like everything about other people, and we don't invest that same time and that same energy into ourselves, which is, by the way, our business. And so not only do we obsess over other people in their choices, we also spend a whole lot of time comparing ourselves to other people. Whew. All right. We look on social media, we look around at people we went to high school with, college with, or whatever, and we determine I should be further along than I am. I should, man, I feel like I should have already done this by now. Or I wonder what would have happened if this. We stay stuck in the past. We constantly are comparing our journey to somebody else's. Also, incredibly discouraging, right? Your successes should not threaten me, right? I want us to look at it a little bit differently. Here's your second look. If I am fortunate enough to have someone in my purview, someone in my eyesight who has done well for themselves, then that is a gift to me. Because we will only aspire to be what we can see. It is the visibility that gives us hope. And we all need that, especially if it's someone who you know has had some challenges. You know they have had some challenges and you know that they have just been through some things. You were probably there with them. How beautiful is it that they were able to now make some choices and get a different outcome? Because we are all a sum of our choices. If you are right where you want to be in this moment, then that means you have strung together some decisions to get you here. If you are not where you want to be in this very moment, you have strung together some decisions that got you here, but not to worry. Because remember that we own the mission and we own everything that's attached to it. And that means that you can at any point decide to pivot and go another way. We all have that choice. Nobody can make it for us. Nobody can do it for us. I own that. Every drop of it. And so it's a gift to see other people doing what they love. Let's not be jealous. Let's not, make them feel bad. Because that's another thing too, is that we make people feel so awful about getting to a place where they are successful and they are doing well. Individually, we have a hard time celebrating ourselves. We have a hard time, ladies, being like, man, I did that. Yeah, I worked for that. Let's do a little better with that. And finally, we are constantly letting our emotions run the show. And when we do that, we feel defeated. And when we feel defeated, we don't even try. And that's how our business gets neglected, because we simply just give up. Can I tell you that our emotions are data and not directives? In other words, they are an indication of something, but they cannot run the show. I have to be able to detach emotionally. I have to, because I don't make my best decisions when I'm in an emotional state. We all have been there. Have you ever sent an emotional text or like 25 texts in less than a minute? I didn't even know the phone could transmit that much data at one time, but it can, and I have proof. Everything's fine. All right. So it is detaching emotionally. It is relaxing, looking around and making a call. And that call, listen, it's impactful. Just know that that call is going to echo past your feelings and go towards submission. That's what we want, right? We have to learn how to manage ourselves. Yeah. Part one is being aware of myself. Part two is managing myself. When it comes to opportunities, we have three choices as I see it. First choice is we can do nothing. But we all know that if you do nothing, you get nothing. My second choice is that I can wait for other people. But we all have experiences with waiting for other people. And what we do know is that we get the same results as doing nothing at all. Because that's essentially what we're doing. While I am waiting for you to do something, I am still doing nothing. Or my third option is that I can make it happen. And oh man, if you've ever done that for yourself, if you've ever reached deeply and you said, you know what, I am going to make this happen. This one is personal. This one, I am not going to worry about what anybody else thinks, feels, says about it. This one is for me. If you've ever made something happen on your own behalf for yourself, you know how rewarding that is. You know how amazing that feels on the inside. And so hands down, you know that that's the better choice. Listen, we have to learn how to add intentionality behind the things that we do. We can't just be doing stuff. We gotta mind our business and mind our business. I want to leave you with this. When we are born, we look like our parents, but when we die, we look like our choices. And I want to tell you to choose wisely. Okay. Just know I'm cheering for you. And above all, mind your business. Right? Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Echelon Front, for inviting me.
Listen, ladies, I promised you some inspiration today, and LaTonya did not let us down. I have copious notes from our conversation. I just love when you're on here. And you know what? You know what brings me so much joy, LaTonya, is I'm pretty sure it's your husband on here.
It is.
Yeah, there he goes. He waves. And he is watching you with the most incredible pride on his face the entire time. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Love the support on here and love the comments in here from all the women talking about how much they needed to hear this today. What a cool message and a reminder for me that our time is fleeting. It is the one thing in our life we cannot stop. We cannot stop that clock from ticking. Yeah. And so then the questions that you asked are so critical. How are we spending our time? Are we doing a proper time audit of what we should be focused on? Or are we wasting our time? And I love how you related all of this to what we teach. You know, are we wasting our time doing things that aren't contributing to the broader mission? Do we have an understanding of what that mission is? Are we clear on that mission with the people around us so that we're doing things to contribute to our accomplishing that mission? Are we wasting time casting blame or pointing fingers or allowing excuses to creep up in our life that are keeping us from getting these things done? Are we wasting time allowing our emotions to impact our ability to build relationships or make decisions that aren't, again, pointing us in the direction of that mission? And are we wasting time allowing our ego to get in the way, to convince us that we're right and that others are wrong? And how much time we waste trying to prove that we know it, we've got it, and letting our ego get in the way. So a really cool reminder for me, and what it all came back to, and you know, you talked about it in your own language, which I love that, with all these, you know, evidence of what we teach at Echelon Front and the principles we teach, but that culminating foundation of what we believe at Echelon Front, this mindset of extreme ownership is the foundation to everything else that we teach. It is so powerful when people can understand what that means in your life to take true ownership. And you talked about that, and you talked about owning the things that you can control. And we say that at Echelon Front, you have to have ownership of how you respond. That's how we solve problems. And the second you make problems and challenges and situations someone else's problem, you lose all the control to solving that problem. So the best thing we can do is immediately recognize how we are contributing to those problems and challenges and take ownership of solving those problems. And we do that by owning the things that we can own. We can own our choices. We can own the relationships. We can own our behavior. We can own our attitude. We can take ownership of our health and the things we're doing to keep our mind and our emotions and our spiritual beings, you know, full and ready and prepared. We can own how we communicate. We can own how we show up. I love that. We can own our appearance. We can own our work ethic. We have so much more in our control that we don't give ourselves credit for. And the second we put the responsibility of the problems and challenges we're facing on someone else's plate, we lose all ability to solve in that problem and make things happen. So I love the reminder that our time is fleeting. We need to be mindful of how we're spending our time. We need to remain focused on the things in our life that are going to contribute to that broader mission. And that's truly what this idea of minding your own business comes to. So I love the components that you led with. You obviously had a lot more within there to share with the group. But I want to leave some time to get into some questions and talk about what you guys want to talk about. So I know we have a couple of questions in here. I'll pass it off to Meg. But if there's any other comments or people want to come off mute and ask a question, we can do that too. This time is yours. So I'll pass it over to you, Meg.
Yep. So some really good comments in there, LaTonya, echoing what Jamie said, really, I think powerful for a lot of people and just a really good reminder in so many ways for us of how we have a choice every day. And whether yesterday was a bad day, we made some bad choices, we can show up today and we can make better choices. And that's on us. We don't need anybody else. We don't need other people. We don't need other resources. That's all within our control, all within our ability to make those choices and how we show up and what we choose to do, our actions, our behaviors. So that's awesome.